Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to table the document for a third set of questions I have, so I'll do that now rather than wait for it. Thank you for appearing here today from the ABC. You're dealing with accusations and a perception of bias from substantial parts of the community. I know you strongly deny any bias and say that the ABC is impartial. One of the claims of bias is that ABC gives leniency to what is commonly termed left-leaning politicians, which to me is a control side of politics, and is more critical of conservative politicians. You'd obviously be aware that even Media Watch slammed the ABC's coverage of an incident involving Senator Thorpe outside of a strip club, calling the ABC's lack of coverage pathetic. I would like to compare that to some of... Are you aware of that? Media Watch's own criticism?
Yes. Yep.
I'd like to compare that to some of your other coverage. When there was a critical story of the New South Wales One Nation leader Mark Latham over a tweet, ABC mentioned the story 131 times. Yet you only mentioned the Senator Thorpe incident 21 times. Just for comparison, the Nine Network covered the same incidents 80 times to mention Mark Latham's incident with 80 times, Senator Thorpe's incident 90 times, fairly balanced. So here we have a Conservative politician and a politician on the left, and I would argue involved in incidents of similar significance, yet you've mentioned the negative story about the Conservative 131 times and only 21 times for the left-leaning politician. How can you maintain there is no bias at the ABC in the face of those statistics?
Senator, firstly, I'd say I see, certainly in the complaints we receive, the way they're investigated, I don't see evidence of systemic bias, which is what's levelled at us on a regular basis. I'll defer to Mr Stevens when it comes to the coverage, particularly about Lydia Thorpe and that incident.
Sure. Thanks for the question, Senator Roberts. So, respectfully disagree that we are not biased and we take an impartial approach to any and all stories, but the bar is also high around our sourcing of journalism and the accuracy of it. So on that particular story, which you've identified regarding Senator Thorpe, and I note that Senator Thorpe is no longer in the committee room, but the ABC did cover it, for starters. Secondly, the vision you refer to was not the ABC's. Channel 7 had in possession the raw footage of Senator Thorpe, not the ABC. Now, I back the editorial judgment of my editorial leaders to be very careful about not using video, which we haven't sourced ourselves, and we don't know what comes before and after it, and not rush to report it. And the emphasis on rushing to reporting it is because we did report on it during the course of the week. Afternoon briefing covered it on the Monday after, and on the Wednesday when the Prime Minister made additional comments, when it went from being something that happened in the private sphere, outside of Parliament, outside of the Senator's time in Canberra, when the Prime Minister elevated it to the discussion being relevant to Canberra, we did cover it. If there is some implication from the question, and I might be mistaken, that we are not covering Senator Thorpe as forensically as we would others, I'd respectfully point out to Senator Roberts that it was the ABC which broke the story about Senator Thorpe in October last year regarding the questions around whether she had a conflict of interest by sitting on a particular committee. And it was that story broken by the ABC which was referred to the Privileges Committee. I understand the Privileges Committee reported back in March, and the committee found that Senator Thorpe did not disclose any sensitive information to Dean Martin for the record, and we reported that at the time. But it was the ABC that broke that story in October, which should demonstrate that we do not shy away from investigative journalism regarding any politician of any political affiliation.
Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just wondering whether, in light of these discussions, and Senator Thorpe was previously here, whether someone should alert her to these discussions. I mean, she may or may not know, but I just think out of fairness,
Thank you,
could someone
Senator
just let her know this discussion?
This is not about Senator Thorpe, Senator Henderson. It's
I realise
about
that.
the way the ABC treats her compared to other people.
No, but there are
Mark
certain
Latham.
discussions being. I just think to be fair,
Are we going to invite Mark Latham?
we need to give her that opportunity to let her know that this discussion is.
Thank you,
It was-
Senator Henderson. Senator Roberts, would you like to continue?
This is what Paul Barry from Media Watch said. But it was a proper news story and the ABC should have covered it from the start. You said when the Prime Minister got involved, it increased the importance of it. So you wouldn't have covered it if the Prime Minister hadn't got involved?
We covered it before the Prime Minister said anything, Senator.
In a very subdued way compared to what you did with Mark Latham.
I don't have on to hand our coverage of Mark Latham and the fact that he's in New South Wales politics these days. I'm not sure what the New South Wales newsroom did of that. I'm happy to follow up and look at that.
Well, you know, if you live in a bubble, you won't see what people in Australia are seeing. Other topics, climate change. The ABC is considered heavily biased. Doesn't present the data, doesn't present the evidence, just presents opinions. So let's move on.
Sorry, Senator, just on that, I would respectfully disagree when it comes to that. We follow the weight of evidence when it comes to our coverage on climate and the weight of scientific evidence that sits with it.
Perhaps you could take on notice.
Testimony, I can take it on notice and respond to you, Senator. Yeah.
Are you able
No,
to
take it
provide
on
any
notice.
example-
Take it on
Sorry,
notice
Senator,
to provide me with the sources of your climate change evidence on which
Can you
rely.
provide some examples, please, Senator, as to where we've not done fact-based reporting on climate change?
Sure.
Right now?
Oh, I can't do it right now because I'll go to the data.
Mr Stevens. That can be provided to you later.
Let's go back to last estimates. I asked the ABC about the presence of Bruce Pascoe and Dark Emu-related material on the ABC education site and why it was there. We had a conversation about the fact that many of his claims about Indigenous history are highly contested and some of them are completely debunked. You answered me that whatever was on the ABC website would be reflecting the national curriculum. So after you told me that, I asked the Australian Curriculum Assessment and Reporting Authority in a subsequent Senate estimates session, what's in the curriculum about this topic? I have to say that ACARA were pretty shocked, to put it mildly, that you had claimed that material was in the curriculum. Specifically, which part of the national curriculum are you claiming that material of Bruce Pascoe's reflects? Keep in mind I'm going to be asking ACARA about this too in a few days.
Senator, I will have to get back to you on notice with regard to that. So did we give you a response on notice to that after my appearance at estimates last time? We didn't. All right. Well, we will as to why, and I apologise if that's the case. My knowledge of what we do for ABC Education, the resources that sit there, there are state and territory curriculums as well as what we have nationally, and we do put assets there that do align to it. That said, I will respond to that, what you've just put to me on notice.
So can you please take it on notice, as you just agreed to provide the specific part of the curriculum you claim to be reflecting?
Yes, Senator.
The ACARA curriculum.
So we're going to have to rotate the call, Senator Roberts. You can come back again a bit later.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Hughes?
Thank you, Chair.